Welcome to the Spiritist magazine moment at Kardec Radio. Every week, we'll bring you one article from one of the issues of the Spiritist magazine. You can find more information by visiting www.thespiritistmagazine.com. You can also download a free app for Apple and Android devices where you can read all of the issues for free. This week, we will read one article from the issue 13, published in October of 2010, entitled The Spiritual Underpinnings of Suicide, written by Raul Teixeira. Suicide is a transgression of the law of equilibrium that rules our lives. Although we have freedom, suicide is the anti-freedom. Because when we are suffering difficulties, we are sure that providence will arrive. We know one way or another that the problem is going to be solved. But when we commit suicide, it is as if we are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We don't know when the solution is going to arrive. Once the suicidal person not only changes his or her own life, but also societies as well. Let us say that I commit suicide when I'm 30 years old, but I had to live until 70. In the spirit zones, I will pass 40 years in agony, in torment, because I've psychically kept myself tied to the incarnation that I had interrupted. 40 years living in that agony, making up for the time that I should have stayed on earth. After that, I will begin the work to reorganize myself. After that, I will reorganize my family that was left tormented by my suicide. My family, 40 years later, 60 years later, will still suffer the consequences of my deed, that, wherever they find themselves, many will be old, others will have died, but they will all still be in shock with the suicide I committed. I will need to get closer to them, one by one, and help them to recompose themselves. After that, I will go back to that society where I committed suicide and work on the anti-suicidal message, proposal, be it in religions, be it in politics, be it in philosophy, or be it in culture. I have to give back to society, which witnessed to my suicide, an elevated moral message. No one knows that I'm back there, but I will be a great benefactor, a great doctor, a great preacher, a great administrator preaching against suicide. Our spirit benefactors inform us that the suicidal person spends an average of 200 years to rearrange their own situation. In these come and go, commonly in short lifetimes, and other full of difficulties. Thus, it is very important that we realize that suicide is an extreme act of desperation or rebelliousness, or in function of our culture, as the ancient Japanese used to do, the harakiris. Therefore, it's very important that we realize that suicide does not solve the problem we want to solve. It worsens it. There is a very interesting case of a textile businessman in Europe during the last Great World War. I read this in the Reader's Digest selections. He couldn't sell the fabric that he had bought in great quantity. It was all in stock when the war started. He wasn't able to sell enough of it. That's aroused. The promissory notes were due. He had to pay his creditors. In the middle of a war environment, he he couldn't see a solution and decided to commit suicide. 2 days after his burial, his country's army needed fabric for new uniforms for soldiers and looked for his enterprise, which specialized in this type of material. His children became rich. Naturally, he suffered in the spirit world for not having faith, for giving way to desperation. So, whenever we find a situation in which we don't find a way out, let us remember that our grandmother's saying, quote, "What doesn't have remedy, prescribed already is," unquote. If there is no way out, there is no use to kill myself because there is no way out. So let me stay here. What if I'm ashamed before people? But I will be ashamed for a day. Then a solution will arrive. In healthy conscience, there is no reason to kill ourselves. First, because we don't die. We are spirits. We kill the body as if one decides to walk nude and throw the clothes away. That is what we do. But we keep on living, but now with the added weight of nonsense. It is worth mentioning that the person who committed suicide is not abandoned by divinity. If we believe that God takes care of its noble, balanced children, how come you wouldn't take care of its sick, unbalanced ones? If a mom and a dad take care of a noble, balanced, studious, good child, how come they would not take care of an infirm, disturbed child? Obviously, the suicidal person will be suffering a lot for what he or she had done to him or herself. But there will not be suffering because God's punishment. On the contrary, the Creator will open all doors again. Well, one has to learn how to open them up. Individuals who committed suicide are deserving of our concern, our respect, our understanding, our good thoughts, our good prayers, as they are ill in some way, an illness induced by materialism, which is an ideological, doctrinal disease, or they are psychiatrically ill. Ultimately, they are always ill, desperate, anxious people. Naturally, they deserve all of our respect and care. Because hell has no external form, because it resides inside of us, the same as heaven. Suicides live an inner hell, an inner torment, through something that they created for themselves. Not even in jest should we entertain that thought. Some of my friends in Brazil used to come to me to complain about their husbands, that they were not behaving accordingly, and then concluded by saying, "I'm going to kill myself." I always reply to them, "Don't do that. You will give him his freedom." They would go on saying, "But what do I do with this man that torments me?" I would say to them, "Live. Tell them I am not going to separate from you, not even in another life. Facing this scare, you'll begin to change. Don't kill yourself. Live always." I further tell my friends, "You helped him grow in life, develop a business, make him fat, lose his hair, so he's so cute like that. And now you hand him to another woman? It's not worth it." There is a popular saying in my country that says, quote, "Whoever gets to eat the flesh also chews the bones," unquote. Thus, we shouldn't kill ourselves for anything or anybody. Let's live to show ourselves that we are capable of overcoming our problems. This is the great challenge of a lifetime, to overcome our problems, to beat our own record. But to kill ourselves? Never, not even in jest. The Spirit Society of Baltimore now poses a question to Dr. Raul Teixeira. When were you talking about suicide? You mentioned that after 200 years, that person returns in a mission. What about those people who tried to commit suicide but didn't succeed? What kind of lesson do they take from it? And here's the answer. Let's see. It will depend on the way that person keeps on living. At times, someone tries to commit suicide and does not succeed, and keeps on living in bitterness, anguish, revolted with life. There is no mission there. These people are killing themselves little by little in an indirect way. When we are negative and cultivate bad thoughts, we discharge over our physical selves the product of our distress, our lack of control, and our revolt. If a person tried to commit suicide but did not succeed because either he or she regretted it, my God, what would I have done to my life? Then this person becomes a messenger of anti-suicide. He or she begins to work to guide people so they do not try to do that because he or she has had that experience. Thus, he or she will deal with people emphasizing life, creating a mission in that sense. It is going to depend on the state of mind that individual is going to be in after the unsuccessful suicide attempt. It is a help that one has no idea about. However, people often do not understand this help. They do not try to kill themselves anymore. They do not think of killing themselves directly, but they spend their whole life in negativity, burning their own energy, which hasten their death. This is what we learn in Spiritism, and it is called indirect suicide. It is the suicide of irritated people, of revolted people, of addicted people. They wipe out their body's energy. They age precociously. They die precociously. That is the indirect suicide that we need to avoid. Life needs to be lived. Life must be valued in the best it has to offer. This article has its source from Unfolding Our Spiritual Nature, Path of Harmony, which is a CD lecture with Raul Teixeira, who is a doctor of philosophy, published by the Spirit Society of Baltimore. Dear listener, as brought to us in this beautiful article, once again, we have these beautiful teachings of Spiritism to help us in our everyday lives. Every time we feel lost, we feel like there's no more hope, we must resort to our own inner strength. Also, resort to prayer. Pray that your guardian angel, who is always with you, comes and help you. They are always willing to guide us towards the right path. Let us keep ourselves in this life, this beautiful life, this gift of God that was granted to us, so we may overcome any difficulties and weaknesses. May we persevere every day, in spite of any challenges that life might throw at us, because we will be stronger. We will be kinder to ourselves and others. Additionally, in this world, many people lose their lives every day to suicide. Let us reach out to others. A kind smile, a kind word, someone who may come your way. Smile at them. Ask them how are they doing today. Look at them in the eye. That may be the first time they feel acknowledged, they feel seen. It may change someone's day. So let's use the teachings that Spiritism has given us in our everyday lives in a practical way to help other people. Because without charity, there is no salvation. Dear friends, if you have any question, please write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. God willing, until next week. Many blessings.